This is a long one, but what are your thoughts on the growing anti-woke movement in gaming that is going on? It feels like they're more obnoxious than the woke people nowadays. They just proclaim any game that their favorite YouTuber grifter deems as woke, even if they've never played it. For me, this mostly stems from people calling avowed woke, but I've never seen anything woke except that you can do a gay romance, but you could do gay romances in Dragon Age and Mass Effect in 2008 and 2009. Why is gay romance suddenly woke and bad now, but fine before? Excuse me. By the way, for the record, that's false. Mass Effect 1 did not have a gay romance. That's incorrect. Mass Effect 2 did. Okay. Why is gay romance suddenly woke and bad but fine before? It feels to me like any game with a black person, a woman, or a black woman in it now just gets proclaimed as woke, and everyone boycotts really good games because some YouTuber told them to. What is woke? Why is it bad? Okay. We've talked about this recently. We have, right? I feel like in life and in human culture, okay, there's this pendulum that swings back and forth, okay? Sometimes it swings all the way over to the right. Sometimes it swings all the way over to the left. And sometimes it lands on a place in between, okay? Currently, with our current political climate and everything going on, the pendulum was all the way on the left. It actually was, okay? But it has now swung very swiftly and strongly to the right, okay? So, what's happening is, you used to have a ton of games that were coming out that had these kind of themes. One of the biggest ones that everyone talks about is The Last of Us 2. The protagonist, Ellie, is revealed to be gay, and she has a homosexual relationship during the course of the game, right? The other protagonist, or you might even say the antagonist protagonist, because she's kind of both, Abby, isn't a typical woman. She's not a damsel in distress. Instead, she's actually buff, has manly characteristics to her. She can brutally kill guys, right? That's not normal, right? There's actually a trans character in the game who says that they had to leave where they were because people mistreated them because they were trans. All right? So these themes are not themes that are usually in common video games, just to be honest. And what ended up happening was, with Last of Us 2 becoming a giant, massive hit and seller, a lot of other game developers decided to follow suit and put these more liberal themes into the video games. Okay? And it was a thing. It was like a running thing. I feel like people who were making games actually sat down and said, well, how can we follow this trend? We want to be part of this trend where everyone's doing this more liberal, woke stuff. You know, our protagonist should not be a big, roided white male, which most video game protagonists tend to do. All right? We want something different. Let's have a female. Let's not have a bombshell, over-the-top, supermodel-looking white female. Instead, let's have, a minority. Let's have a person who doesn't have that supermodel body type instead. Let's have more realistic, common body types as main characters in our games. Let's have characters that are more story-driven, but they're not necessarily superhero-ish, okay? And you'll see for a good run there, because Last of Us 2 was what, 2010? Excuse me, 2020? It was a good 3-4 years there where this was kind of the pattern, all right? But I think what happens is it goes too far. So, for example, take a look at what happened with Hogwarts Legacy, okay? Here's a game made by a bunch of game developers that literally are supportive of these kind of liberal things. Like, they're 100% supportive of trans people, gay people. They 100% are okay with that. They have characters of that in the game. There's actually a trans character in the game that's actually very positive for the trans community. Like, they run the pub. I forget the character's name, but they run the pub, and they're actually well written. They fit perfectly into the story. It's not intrusive or shoved down your throat that they're trans. There's nothing wrong with that character at all. It's great. Well done. Okay? But what ends up happening is the woke mob tries to cancel the game because of J.K. Rowling, the original creator of Harry Potter, basically being anti-trans. And what happens is it kind of blows up to this giant political argument on the internet about this video game, which is just so bizarre. Why can't we all just enjoy the game rather than hating it for or loving it for political reasons? Did you even play the game to know if it was good or not? Okay? Anyway, that's just a case in point of something that went so crazy political, right? So I think what happened was things went so far to the left. All of a sudden, culture couldn't take it anymore. They got a bad taste in their mouth. And overall, human culture said, too much is too much. We want to go back to having more balance. But what ends up happening is the pendulum starts to swing, all right, and it hits that middle. And now you start seeing people call out things that are woke for woke's sake, things that are just poor game design, things that look and play horrible and are trying to be sold just because they're woke, right? And I get that. I do feel like there was a year or two there where a bunch of games were coming out that really didn't have much value besides, the main character is gay or, a female with a regular body type and stuff like that. So now we're in 2025, okay? And what's happened is we just had a crazy milestone history-making election where almost all of the American lawmakers in the federal government voted in were Republicans, completely shifting from a left swing to a right swing. The people of the United States have said collectively, we're tired of this woke movement. We're tired of the liberalism. We want a return back to what we consider conservative values and normalcy. And what's happened along with that is online culture has followed it. People who used to feel like they were kind of being beaten down by this liberal movement, this woke movement, are now emboldened to speak up. And people who used to be on the fringe are now in the mainstream. This is the pendulum swinging, okay? So what's happened in 2025, games that have been in the pipeline for many years, the pipeline that was crammed with liberal woke style games are coming out, but it's too late. The movement's over. Culture has turned against it. These games are not selling well and are not very popular because guess what? That was a fad that went through, and now the fad, sadly, has swung the other way. Now, by the way, I will say this very, excuse me, matter-of-factly. I'm not of either side. I'm not left-leaning or right-leaning, okay? I judge things at face value. I'm able to tell you guys the truth of the matter from my perspective, and I think that people who are extremely one way or the other way kind of don't get it, that in life, you can't be in a mentality that either you're with me or you're against me, right? Either you're like my greatest ally or you're my hated enemy. To me, I feel like people from all walks of life, from all different mentalities, different mindsets, have to come together to learn to coexist and to help each other out to be successful. It can't just be one way or the other way, my way or the highway, okay? So when I play a video game, I don't give a shit who the main character is, what they look like, what their background is, what their sexual orientation is, what their gender is, what their skin color is. I don't give a fuck. My question is the game fun to play? Is there a mechanic that's neat or interesting or catchy or addictive? Is there any innovation in the game? How does the game perform? How are the graphics? Is the story interesting and hooking? Is it good? How is the soundtrack? That's the stuff I'm looking for. I don't care about the political stuff in the game at all. Now, there are some cases where, sadly, I do feel that some games go too far. For example, when I played Life is Strange 2, that game became so leftist preachy that everyone in the United States who's white basically is racist, and that's why the two Hispanic main characters get treated so poorly by almost every white person in the game except for one. Every other person is like a scumbag to them, right? I don't like that because I feel like that's a gross misrepresentation and it goes too far, all right? But in general, as long as a game is fun to play, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. I try to judge stuff fairly, okay? But what's now happened is the movement has gone the other way. At one point, it was like hip and what's the cool hot thing? Well, we got to have a gay character. We got to have a trans character. We got to have someone who completely has blue hair, tattoos all over their body, a nose ring, has to talk about 17 different kind of leftist things and political stuff. That's what's hot in games. So we have to have a game like that. And everyone wanted to have a game like that, and they were actually selling. But now that culture has flipped the other way, these games that were in the pipeline for that are coming out too late and are too late for the trend. The perfect case in point here is South of Midnight, okay? I played 2.5 hours of South of Midnight. During that time frame, I didn't see a single thing in the game that's woke. But the main character is black and female. The game takes place in the South and has that Southern drawl and those kind of themes to it, right? Like Louisiana, New Orleans, that kind of stuff. And now what's happening is because culture has flipped the other direction, okay? People are looking at a game like that and saying, oh, that's woke crap, and I'm not going to play it. I'm not, that game's awful. You shouldn't play it either. And it's like, did you even play it? Did you? Because if you didn't play it, or you didn't actually watch someone play it, but you just listened to some idiot online spit vitriol towards it, then you're an ignorant asshole. That game, from the 2.5 hours that I played, was not woke in any way, shape, or form. Just being honest, the game was actually fun and interesting. It had a throwback vibe to games like Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter, kind of combined with some Sly Cooper in there, and even some Prince of Persia. The plot was getting interesting. The soundtrack was completely unique, and I was enjoying myself. But what happened was when I was playing South of Midnight, my audience on my streams told me, Phil, why are you playing this game? This game is woke. This game is crap. Everyone online says that it's just garbage. It's DEI nonsense. How dare you play this game? Don't you see that the main character is black and female? That immediately must mean the game is worthless. And I'm playing the game, I'm like, what? And I called it out. If you said that, you're a bigot. You're an actual moron. You didn't play the game. You didn't judge it on its own merits. You judged it on what some dunce online, some grifting idiot said, because they want to get a big mob angry at this game so that they can get clickbait views and attention. All right? You can have games that don't have stereotypical leads, stereotypical ways to be played. You could still do it and do it tastefully, and the game can be good. But you have to stop being such a pig-headed fucking idiot. Because when you do that, you're just as bad as the people that you're trying to criticize. When you say woke is bad, but then you actually go ultra-conservative, you're just as bad as the woke. Don't you get it? But they don't. I feel like people today say, you're so bad because you did something bad, so then you do the equally bad thing just in the other direction. But you did the same thing. It's like fighting fire with fire. You can't. You can't fight fire with fire. Right? You can't take an eye for an eye because then we're all fucking blind. But these people are so dumb, they don't seem to understand that. So it just kills me, But that's how it seems to be today. And I think this will continue for a while. What's going to happen is now all these games that were being developed for, in that pipeline are going to come out. They're not going to cancel the games, but as they come out, you're going to get people who are going to come out and be pig-headed bigots about it and say, that's woke, this is crap, that's woke, this is crap, and people are going to just cancel the games and just crap on them. And then what'll happen is ultimately things will change again. Culture will change, and it might be another 5-10 years because it does. It swings back and forth. It does. And I feel like it will. It'll swing back again, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, whoa, look at that. Look at these bigots online. Everyone will agree. And then you'll be dumb to have been in part of that group, and then it'll be just in vogue to go the other way again, I literally was calling this out for years. Didn't you remember? Don't you remember the whole pendulum thing? I've been talking about it for 2-3 years, and now it's all coming to fruition. Like exactly as I described it would too. It's not even like, oh, it's just kind of what Phil said or slowly. No, it's happening at an accelerated rate. Exactly what I said is happening. I've been through it already. We'll go through it again. It's just eras of gaming, this has happened. Seriously. The 90s were so bizarre. Everything was ultra violent, ultra sexualized, over the top, attitude era wrestling, video games, comics were all like that. Then all of a sudden, we hit this era where everything became, no, censored, has to be more family friendly, has to be more PG era rated, has to be all this. And then culture flips again and flips again. And it keeps happening. So anyway, yeah, I do feel like right now, this is correct. I do feel like there are games that are being mistreated and not treated fairly because people are going to come at them screaming that they're woke when in reality they're not. Just because a game has a black character, a female character, takes place in a place that may not be a mainstream location, doesn't mean that it's bad or that it's woke. However, when you get a game set in a historical climate, like, let's say feudal Japan, and they decide to make the two protagonists a female ninja, of which there were probably 3 ever in history, and a black samurai, of which there never was one. There was a person who was a black samurai who was actually not a real samurai. They were just pretending to be, and was basically kind of like a belonging of one of these Japanese leaders. And then you make that the main characters of your game set in Japan when everyone's been asking you to make a Japanese culture-centric Assassin's Creed for over a decade. Yeah, that game probably fucked up. And if you want to call that out, go for it. But for me, ultimately, I don't care about any of this stuff. When I judged Assassin's Creed Shadows, did I judge it for the protagonists? No. I judged it for the fact that I played it for 9 hours and I was fucking bored to tears. The game sucked ass. It literally was boring as fuck. Okay? It was just not good. It was built to be a grindy, boring mess, and I did not like it. At the same time, when I'm playing a game like South of Midnight and I'm having a good time and everyone's telling me, well, we're not going to watch you play it or engage or support the playthrough because it's woke, and I say, no, it's not, you're a bigoted idiot, I'm going to do that. I have the right to do that. Okay? You want honesty from me, you're in the right place. That's who I am. I'm not going to change. Simply because people want to now swing to the one direction all the way, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you my honest opinions on this stuff. Okay?
You got some idiot named DSP who's a total piece of shit, by the way. I like to get that on YouTube, but